I'm talking about proper money, Liverpool, not what you're getting on universal credit. Nonetheless, I understand you're annoyed at me and you'd want an apology. So here it is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you emotionally incontinent crybabies don't understand what a joke is.
Breaking right now, the comedian Andrew Lawrence has responded in typically boisterous and brave style to his cancellation after making a joke about the Liverpool incident, which has seen comedy creators and so many others turn on him. Now, you know me, I'm a bit of a free speech absolutist, and I certainly believe that when it comes to comedy, we need to go with the Ricky Gervais doctrine, right? Sometimes you're going to be offended. Sometimes you're going to think a joke is gross, is crude, is inappropriate, but that's the brilliance of comedy. And if you don't like it, don't buy a ticket to an Andrew Lawrence gig. Cancelling the guy is sick. Now, I know I'm going to have just said that, and then lots of you are going to hear the joke and think, oh, but Dan, he's gone too far. Well, good. That's what I want comedians to do sometimes, okay? It's not about agreeing with a joke or whether you think it's serious. The point is, it's a joke. He's a comedian. So brace yourselves. This is what got him cancelled. To be fair, if I was in Liverpool, I'd drive through crowds of people to get the F out of there as well. And of course, Andrew was making a serious point, because he was very disturbed by the fact that the mainstream media were going along with the police narrative about the fact that the driver was white. So he posted if he was brown or black, I'm quite sure they wouldn't have stated his skin colour. Everything being written about the Liverpool incident in the MSM reads as if it's been directed by the government and the security services. There is no free press in this country. This morning, legacy media outlets have, in coordination, all removed mention of the arrested Liverpool man being white from their headlines, having presumably realised their anti-white racism was on open display. Too late, we've seen you. And then he pointed out examples. First, the BBC had done that. Then the Mail Online had done the same thing. And so Andrew Lawrence is an ideological guy, right? Like, his comedy comes from a particular point of view. But sure enough, as you can imagine, the cancel culture hounds were immediately onto him, meaning Andrew had to announce that the event organisers who had hired our comedy club for the Andrew Lawrence night had cancelled the event. They said, we do not condone or support the comment that has been made online. It wasn't a comment, it was a joke. And we send everyone impacted by the tragic events in Liverpool our support and prayers. This venue lost their courage, this is what Andrew said, after being bombarded with abuse and threats of violence from online trolls. Understandable but disappointing. I will reschedule for later in the year at a different venue, Southend. Sorry for the inconvenience. Have a great day. And I can tell you that in the last few hours, Andrew has now responded on his own YouTube channel to the latest cancellation. And let's just say, if you thought he was going to be chased, if you thought he was going to hold back, you were wrong. Watch.
Posted that, thousands of Scousers descended on my ex account in a state of apoplexy, saying, why don't you come to Liverpool and say that? Well, that was the joke, you dipshits. The joke was I don't want to be in Liverpool, but to understand that I guess you'd have to learn to read. Luckily, all these Scousers' comments were of course written down for them, so I didn't have to listen to them screeching in their dirty accents. I mean, it was a pretty mild joke, to be honest. If I was really trying to offend them, I would have written, it's a shame that Liverpool parade crackhead wasn't driving a tank. Still, I underestimated how thin-skinned and brittle Scousers are. They were absolutely seething and set about trying to get all my live shows cancelled. Difficult for them, given that I've just finished a national tour and I'm not looking to be doing any live gigs again for quite a while. Unlucky you scally bellends. However, due to them leaving thousands of comments and viewing my posts millions of times, my creator income from X this month is going to be enormous. I'm talking about proper money, Liverpool, not what you're getting on universal credit. Nonetheless, I understand you're annoyed at me and you'd want an apology. So here it is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you emotionally incontinent crybabies don't understand what a joke is.
And earlier he had doubled down, taking the mickey out of the Liverpool police. Watch.
So everyone knows about the fact that he is white. Obviously, it's imperative that we highlight the suspect's skin colour in order to avoid any incidents of racism. Just to confirm, the man we have apprehended is white, and hopefully that information will stop all the far-right bigots from taking to the streets and looting their local Gregs. We are focusing very heavily on the arrested man's skin colour, which is white, even though in doing so we leave ourselves open to accusations of anti-white racism from the usual right-wing ne'er-do-wells whose Facebook posts we are monitoring just in case there's anything we can put them in prison for. We are not revealing any other details about the detained suspect at this time. We won't be divulging his name. For now, we shall simply be referring to him as Whitey McWhiteface, and we have advised all media outlets to do the same. We would ask the public to bear with us as we find out if there are any other white British people involved in this crime. And if you do see a white man in a car, please do report that to us immediately. Watch out for white men. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. Kumbaya.
I mean, he is funny. He's very, very funny. Now, what's a shame about this is that Jonathan Pye aside, and I never give credit to Jonathan Pye, I usually can't stand him, but he has seemingly stood up for Andrew Lawrence against the left-wing hate mob by refusing to unfollow him, which is, of course, what the absolute nut jobs like Super Tansky are demanding that he do. So Jonathan Pye aside, it's only been comedians on the right and largely comedians on the GB News show Headliners, which I revealed is about to be axed, who have decided to stand up for Andrew Lawrence. Francis Foster, former Headliners guest, of course, co-host of the brilliant Trigonometry podcast, posted, "It was a joke. You can dislike it, find it reprehensible, disgusting, unfunny, and morally abhorrent. But that's all it was, a joke. Comedy is screwed when we do this to our colleagues." Leo Kurse posted, "Great to see comedy clubs cancelling comedians over jokes. A smart, logically consistent move that definitely won't come back to bite them on the arse now that everyone can demand a comedian is cancelled for talking about the thing that they personally find offensive." Simon Evans, "Andrew is a brave, funny, properly irreverent and hugely beleaguered comedian who has stuck to his guns on any number of unfashionable causes over the last few years and been right far more often than he's been wrong and paid the price." I don't think this was his finest hour, but it is an absolute non-negotiable in comedy that you get to miss a shot once in a while, even from the spot. I will not be accepting any future bookings from Hot Water if this is their policy, and I'll urge other comedians to consider carefully what precedents they really want to set, what values they defend, solidarity with Andrew even when the aim is off. Nick Dixon, "Andrew makes a bad taste joke, which everyone knows is his style. Hundreds of people pile on, telling him to die and doxing him. So the Comedy Store, where he has smashed so many gigs over the years, joined the pile on whilst sounding like they're fighting for Palestine. Pathetic." But first, don't eat breakfast until you learn about caloric bypass. Your breakfast is setting you up for the entire day to either gain weight or lose it. The term breakfast literally means to break your fast that you started the night before. About 4 hours after you eat dinner, your body switches from the nutrients we get from food to the stored glycogen we have in our bodies. Once glycogen stores are depleted, typically after about 8 to 12 hours, by the way, of fasting, the body shifts to burning fat or energy. Fatty acids are released from fat stores where they are converted into ketone bodies. That's a process called ketogenesis. So then, when you eat breakfast in the morning, the body starts the cycle again. So this is where the caloric bypass comes into play. Dr. Gundry, brilliant heart surgeon in California, learned that if you break your nightly fast with something called MCTs, that's media-trained triglycerides, you can actually keep burning fat throughout the day and use it for energy. But there are specific types of foods that contain these MCTs. So using this breakfast breakthrough, he was able to lose, can you believe, 70 pounds £70 just through diet. And check this out, he did it in his 60s. So you can find out all about it and his exact method by going to thehealthyfat.com/outspoken. That's thehealthyfat.com/outspoken, or click on the link in the description box below. It is important that everyone remembers that your body processes fat differently. So it all depends on your unique metabolic type, which is why in the video he's released for my amazing Outspoken viewers, he talks all about that. It's fascinating, let me tell you. It might actually change the way you think about your health. So go to thehealthyfat.com/outspoken, or just click on the link in the description box below, or if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, the QR code on screen right now. But now, back to the show. Harry Saul Markham, is it wrong that Andrew Lawrence, a comedian, is being cancelled for what many consider to be a bad taste joke?
Well, Dan, you stated that the very brilliance of comedy is its ability to be crude and cheeky and full of chutzpah, and I would argue that's its very point. It's not just its brilliance, that's its very purpose, is to be able to attack and disrupt and upset people of all colours, of all stripes. I had a Little Britain theme bar mitzvah, right? Because even back then when I was 13, I absolutely loved the way in which we could talk about taboo subjects in a funny way. And actually, one of the points here, and by the way, just to answer your question, absolutely this guy has the right to say, I didn't find the joke particularly funny, but cancelling him, right, may have seemed to those people who have led this charge as being a very noble thing to do. Frankly, I've never heard of him before this cancellation. So they've brought him to my attention now, and thanks to the cancellation, I now want to go and see him.
Okay, he is
and the
brilliant.
same happened with
You're gonna love him. He's honestly so good.
But the same happened with me. When my book was cancelled, I was a nobody. Well, I still am a nobody. But when I got the cancellation, it actually boosted my profile considerably. And one of the last point I'll say here is that when did the left stop being funny? Right? We've seen a radical cultural shift now that it's the right who are really funny and satirical and dark, and that used to be the brilliant thing about the left.
So
the left would disrupt orthodoxies, and yet it's today the left have become the partner in crime for these new orthodoxies.
Yeah, another new Mary Whitehouse is on the left. That's the thing. And it's woke that did it. It is the infiltration of what Elon Musk calls the woke mind virus that did, I think, completely flip it on its head. Because the thing about the right or the anti-woke group, or however you want to call it, Bernie, is that we support free speech for everyone. Like, we are not saying that the left-wing comics should be cancelled.
No, of course not. Because exactly as everybody has just said, and the commentators have said on X, it's a joke. If you don't find it funny, you've got a remote control. You don't need to go and see them. But it's there for people who think differently to you. And the big thing about free speech is it's always suppressed by those people who say, be kind, right? And the woke lot, because they say they believe in free speech, but only the speech that agrees with what they say. They say they believe in free thought, but only the thought that they believe in. And everybody else is subject to assassination and shutdown and cancellation. And I don't care about his jokes. I happen to live down the road from Liverpool. They're wonderful people. I absolutely love them. I'd rather go out for a night in Liverpool than I would in Manchester. Sorry, Manchester. But I would, because they're such massive-hearted people. And some Liverpudlians will have laughed at that, and some wouldn't have. What gives the woke the right to determine what I can agree with, what I can like, and who I can talk to? It's completely ridiculous, and we need to just put a stop to it. It's over. Just do not be bullied, like Katie Hopkins said. Don't be gaslighted. Don't be bullied. That was a joke. And I'm old enough to remember Joe Brand talking about throwing acid in someone's face.
Yes.
And she was... She wasn't cancelled.
No.
She was applauded for how brave she
or
was.
the BBC with that comedy from Frankie Doyle. Is that
Frankie
Boyle?
Boyle.
Frankie Boyle.
Frankie Boyle.
Where the comedian said, "Kill Whitey," and everyone laughed along. I mean, if that was someone on the right, they'd be in jail like Lucy Comley for incitement to violence.
And Frankie Boyle was the man who abused verbally, terribly, Katie Price's very disabled son. And nobody cancelled him. So the left have had this coming for a long time, right? You can't stop people speaking. They must speak. They must speak.
Yes, absolutely. Just to end with some levity today, though, and I don't know if you've heard of her, Harry, but this is going to be your second comedian who hopefully you're going to love. Do you know, do either of you know Intel Lady, who's doing such a good job
brilliant.
as Angela Rayner? And she's so funny. And this is her latest, and I just wanted to share it so that we're ending on a good note when it comes to comedy.
Deputy Prime Minister, proud Northerner, Basic Instinct enthusiast, and now fourth sexiest woman in the UK, Angela Rayner. That's not why I'm wearing the RDAP, by the way. This is to protect myself from all the dangerous 13-year-old white boys running around. I hope you've all watched that documentary, Adolescence. We watched it and we realised afterwards that everybody needs to have access to this vital documentary. So I said, look, why don't I team up with our Jess Phillips, because she cares very deeply about women and girls. Now we know what one of those is. So we've even set up an helpline, so if your parents are blocking you from watching this documentary, you can call the number 0891 50 50 50 and report them. And for everyone brave enough to report their parents, you get a £10 Greg's voucher.
Oh, she's so good. She's so good. So I think you're absolutely right, actually. The best comedy at the moment is coming from the right, which is very, very exciting. Bernie Spofforth, of course, behind the brilliant YouTube channel If This Is True, which I recommend you all subscribe to. There it is. And Harry Saul Markham. Harry, tell us about the book. Where can we get it?
Well, it's available in 3 days' time, hopefully at all good and not so good bookshops, but certainly on Amazon. And yeah, it's if you're looking for something which really tackles multiculturalism, the delusions of our liberal elites, and why society is in deep trouble, indeed crisis, and what we can do about it, then I urge you to go out and buy it. And
amazing endorsements on this book, right? Stephen Fry, Claire Fox,
Iron Hersey Ali, Stephen Pink, all the kind of trouble.
They're on the cover. They're on the cover. They're incredible people to get on the cover endorsing.
Thank you. Well, I had to pay them. Loads.
Worth it. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to reading it. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Harry and Bernie, my fabulous superstar panel. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.